Here is Haphazard, sitting at anchor as we know her. In the last video about the boat, I mentioned that I would be building a hard dodger, and it turned out to be a big job that took longer than expected. Before I reveal the dodger, I want to say that I like the look of Haphazard like this. She is sleek and uncluttered. So now for the dodger. Ta-da! I will understand, some people may not like what I've done, and truthfully I'm still getting used to it. After sailing from Australia to Fiji, I was exposed to the elements, and something had to be done. To keep a good watch, I was getting my face blasted every time I went to look around. I was first going to build it from foam epoxy composite, then changed to aluminium, as it's just made sense. It's super strong, and you could put half a dozen dancing girls on top and it wouldn't move. I'm going to talk about the design before going into the building. This is not a how-to video on aluminium construction, but you will pick up something on each step of the building process. Haphazard's cockpit is quite long. This made me extend the top longer to 8 feet. I will get some canvas and clear plastic covers that will roll down each side. This will be like adding another area to the deck that is dry when raining, either at anchor or underway. Also, keeping the sun off will stop my skin from turning to leather. It gets hot in the tropics, different to Tasmania where Haphazard is from. The height of the top was important, and the winches on the cabin top pretty much govern the height of the dodger. I have to have easy use, and the rooftop can't get in the way. I wanted to keep the dodger as low as possible for looks, but usability was most important. Got some good strong handholds on each side and the back. The railing on each side of the cabins was kept rather than cutting it off to widen the dodger sides. They will be useful in bad weather when you want to keep your body low when going forward. 3-inch pipe was used on the edges. This gives a radius on the corners. I like this look, just like the cabin sides were built. Now for the construction. The first job was to move the winches and the jammers, as they were in the way and needed to be moved more central. The COVID lockdown was a big delay, as the alloy cellar was outside the border. Eventually it turned up so I could get started. The pipe needed bending, and I didn't know that nobody had the equipment to bend 3-inch alloy tube in Fiji. This was a bit of a dilemma. So I made a jig to try and bend it. It didn't go that well, and all I did was wreck my car jack. Then got another one, and that crushed the pipe. Luckily I met Sanjeev. He used a gas torch on a form to bend the pipes. Sanjeev is going to do all the aluminium welding. It's specialised, and I would have had to buy the welder to do it myself, so I decided it would be better to hire Sanjeev. Angle frames had to be bent to shape for the curve of the cabin top. The camber is important. It is way stronger than flat, and for me looks a lot better. And bent with the hammer. Cutting the pipe ends to fit, this was tricky, and I had to get the correct angle for the drop saw. Oh, you too. And the doggies wanted attention in between. Sanjeev came by and tack welded the corners and the frames. I then cut all the stringers and got the 3mm plate ready. He returned and we assembled the stringers and put on the top. After all was lightly welded, it was ready to take to the boat. It went on top of the car's roof for the trip to the yacht club. I made a temporary frame to support the Dodger roof and to get the position and the height fixed before fitting the upright supports. I've had to work out the winches, just clear what the sides will be. Fastened it up here. That's pretty much locked in now. This one here is pretty good. And then at the back I've had to wedge it. This one here, had to clamp it down a little bit of twist. A bit of a mock-up for the front. That's the angle of the front there. And the side pieces, winch handle just clears. Check the boom clearance. So yeah, reasonable amount of clearance there. You have to compromise on the the height of it, so it's practical inside. You can operate these winches easily. And also for a good lookout forward, and then you also don't want to make it too high, because obviously I could make it up quite a bit higher because there's quite a bit of clearance there, but as soon as it goes up higher it's just going to make it look more and more ugly. If I was to make it look really good, I think, or better than it is, I would make it lower. So I have to make a compromise, and I think that's about it where it is now. So this is one of the uprights here. I've made all the uprights ready to be welded. Painstakingly had to whittle these down to make a nice tight fit for the welder. Okay, these are the back uprights ready to be welded today. Two side ones here ready to go. And we have the forward one. It's a joint there, beautiful. It's going to go. There's a couple across the other side there, one in the middle. So we'll get these tacked in today. There's actually two in the back, but we're just going to put one in today. The other ones will come in later. I'll show you how that's done. The power supply to the yacht club wasn't strong enough to run the welding machine. My next door neighbour came to the rescue and offered to run his generator, and that was a big help. Get the titles right. Oh yeah? Oh great. Oh cool. Now we could get the uprights tacked in position. Making a template for the front. This will be one piece of aluminium where I cut out the windows and be all welded in position. So what I've done is I've done marks with measurements, and then when I go back to the garage I can lay this out and mark it all, put a fairing batten around it, cut it out, and it should be pretty close to the right size. Okay, it looks a bit bodgy, but this is a template for the side. This one here will give me that point down there, and then I've got here and some measurements here. Should be enough to get it close enough, and then I'll whittle it away to the right size. Looking out on the plate. Aluminium is easy to cut and work with. I used a circular and drop saw with tungsten wood blades. So it fitted quite good straight off the template. Just a little bit I allowed on the sides, they'll be trimmed off, and also the top. But the bottom, there was just a tiny little bit I did on one edge, and it all fitted pretty good. I'm happy with that. Before welding, the oxides needs to be ground off so it doesn't contaminate the weld. All the good paint had to be ground off the boat where it was to be welded. This was a horrible job with lots of dust. Just up here. Just put it there first. Yeah, might as well. Couple of little tacks along just to keep it in position, and a bit hard to get in there, huh? All right. Okay, so how's it looking, this one? Gap there? Big gap here. There's a gap. And come further towards you. Yeah, better? There's a piece of wood. Yeah, it's not too bad, huh? You know? It's hard to see now with the light. I really can't see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, right. Might need to come back a bit. It's pretty good here though. Oh yeah. Just come get back a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Oh, maybe too much, huh? Yeah, that's better, huh? Alright. Okay, I've got it. Just put one tacker. I'll check it. So here we have it. Just taking the supports out. So last night we tacked on the plates for the side and the front, and these ones. Unfortunately, well, the welder turned up an hour and a half late, which sort of made it a little bit difficult because we started losing light. It's a little bit difficult to line everything up when it's getting dark, but anyway, it's all pretty good except for one plate on the back there. I need to cut that off and reposition that. It's slightly out. I'm pretty happy with the fitting that I did. It all seems to be fitting nicely, and then it'll be ready for welding. So next mission will be to weld it, and then after that it'll be finishing, which would be sanding and painting, bogging, maybe a little bit of bog, hopefully not too much. This one here is a little bit out. I have to take this plate off, grind this plate off and move bottom in a little bit. I won't be able to live with that. Today I'll be fitting these plates ready to be welded, and that's where the ropes are going to be coming through to the jammers and the winches. And I'm planning on making a wooden block, a painted wooden block with holes in it for the rope, so that way it will stop the water from coming through. On this side, just. Other side, not so lucky. Not so lucky on this side. I made a little bit of an error there. It does sort of touches on that pipe. So I've got a choice: either drill some more holes in the boat, move this winch in a little bit, and I don't have to go in much. It can actually come in that far, it doesn't touch the hatch. Could do that, then I'll have more holes there, or I can get a smaller winch handle. I'll have to make a decision on that. Big day was planned, and we took the boat to South Sea Towage Maintenance Base to use their 15 amp power, and Sanjeev completed all the welding. One concern was the headlining inside. I couldn't see a way for it to be removed, and it was about an inch thick of polystyrene insulation. With the heat of the welding, it could melt and start a fire. I talked to a good friend who is a master metal worker and boat builder in Australia, and he said it'd be unlikely to catch fire as there's very little oxygen inside. I did keep an eye out. Thank you. See you on the other side. Oh, yep. Thank you. All right. Okay, so we welded up. Notice that it's probably just been like tacked together or half welded. There is a reason for that. It's not necessary to weld the whole thing because it's ridiculously strong as it is. And the more welding you do, the more likely the plate can buckle and distort. So keeping the welding to a minimum is not a bad idea. What I'm going to have to do is, after I grind all this and paint it, I'm going to have to get some epoxy filler and fill all these up and after that's been painted again several times, should be good. I have it. One more to go. All right. I like it. So what I did was after cutting this out with a jigsaw, I've gone around with the grinder and just taken out any little lumps, but I'm pretty good with a jigsaw. Get it pretty straight. Ideally, you probably would have used a circular sword. It would have been straighter, but I just was too scared to use one, and my one's pretty savage and the blade's kind of like missing a few teeth now. So now I have to acid wash it and then it's painting, but unfortunately the weather forecast is at least a week of rain coming up, so no delay. This is the product that I'm putting on called Lime Away. I think it's like a cleaner for aluminium and stainless steel. There'd be a lot of hydrochloric acid and nasty stuff in there. You can see I've done some here. See, it makes it all shiny, takes off all the oxide. So I'll be doing all the rest of it, but all the areas are going to be painted. So that's the next step. The sun is ridiculously hot, so I've made this tent out of the boat cover, tied it up to the boom, lifted that up, and this will cool down the aluminium a bit. So I'm about to put the first coat on of 2-pack epoxy, and it will just go on so much better when it's not in the sun. In the sun, I don't think I'd be able to get it on without sticking and pulling all the hair off the roller. Painstaking job of sanding it all. So it's just bogged up these joints. Look, I don't know how far I'm going to go with this, so I'll see how it goes, because it's kind of find it a horrible job bogging and sanding, but I know if I don't do it properly now, it's going to stare at me in the face forever. So probably an extra day of doing this will make a difference. Along here, virtually the whole thing needs to be bogged and sanded. This joint here, see, hasn't been done yet. It started raining yesterday, so I had to abort this one. So yeah, I have to go along, sand it all the way around, and then assess if I need to refill, or I'll be happy with it either way. Most likely I'll have to go over it again. I ended up painting on 5 coats of 2-pack. The quality of the finish is nothing fantastic with a roller. It was never going to look like a shiny car, and I'm good with that. What is more important is it doesn't come off. Cut out the windows and drilled all the holes, did that in the workshop, and routed around the edge. And here are the ones from the front. So it was quite easy in the way that I just got the cutouts from these and used them as a template. So now it's about fitting them, and almost done this. So these are timber blocks I've put in. There'll be polystyrene insulation, and then a piece of plywood eventually will seal it all. Well, I can fasten the plywood to the aluminium here, but just in case it sags, I've got another point that I can fasten to. And also along here, obviously it needs it There's nothing there to fasten to. Okay, we're just about to put the windows in, and I've got some help from Jim. He's a yachty, lives on his boat, and he's kindly come along to help me. That's great. I didn't film putting the ceiling on and putting in the windows because it was just far too messy and it would have ended up all over the camera. Got a couple of sheets of 40mm polystyrene to put up here. Also got several more sheets I'm going to put around in the stern berths. I can now come up from inside, get a good look around 360 degrees. It does block my view of the mainsail. I will just have to move to the back for a good view. So I'm happy, and it was a lot of work and it took ages to get done in between going to work. All the materials, expenses and welding cost about $3,500 US. There is still a few things to do. It's not 100% complete, but I'm going to get the boat back together to use over Christmas. I have a couple of other videos on the way. One will be the mainsail holder contraption. I've already started making that, and the other is a real estate opportunity on a nearby island. I've got a small share in it and it's for sale. So I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching and happy sailing.